It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance on both.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. There is drama, violence and rivalry on the show today, and no sport quite displays these as much as football does. Coaches being sacked midway through the tournament, fans storming hotels, turf war over star players. It's all happening in the African Cup of Nations. Stay for that and more. And speaking of drama, there is much of that unfolding in Australia as the Glenn Maxwell saga continues. Pat Cummins breaks his silence on the matter now. And which of the three semi-finalists can really stop Novak Djokovic in his tracks at the Australian Open? All of that lined up on the show today. But first, a look at the headlines from around the world in Sports 360. We'll start with the Australian Open. Defending champion Aryna Sabalenka is one win away from retaining her crown. She beat Coco Gauff in a 7-6, 6-4 thriller to reach the Australian Open final. This extended her winning streak to 13 matches at the Melbourne Park. Sabalenka is also the first woman to reach the Australian Open finals back-to-back since Serena Williams did it in 2016. The men's pair of Indian Rohan Bopanna and Australian Matthew Ebden have reached the Australian Open final, doubles final as well. They beat China's Zhang Zhizhen and Czech Republic's Thomas Machak 6-3, 3-6 and 7-6. Bopanna has now become the oldest player to reach the Australian Open final. News from cricket. In a controversial move, Cricket Australia included all-rounder Cameron Green in the 11 for the second test against West Indies. This despite Cameron Green testing positive for COVID-19. A video shared by Australia's cricket board showed Green standing far away from the rest of his teammates during the national anthem. England spinner Shoaib Bashir has been finally granted the visa. He will join the England squad this weekend in India. Bashir, who is 20, is a British Muslim of Pakistani heritage. He had experienced a long delay in his visa process, was in fact forced to go back to the United Kingdom from Abu Dhabi, where England had been training before the series against India. England is, of course, started their 5-test series today. Pakistan's cricket board is back to playing musical chairs. It has appointed its election commissioner Shah Khawar as its new interim chief. He's expected to oversee the elections for the permanent position next month. This comes after Zaka Ashraf quit as PCB's management committee head. An Olympic medalist, India's Mary Kom, has refuted reports which earlier claimed that she announced her retirement. She said she was misquoted and was only referring to age limit restrictions in Olympics. Mary Kom, who's 41, is past the age of eligibility to compete on the amateur circuit. Reports earlier had claimed that she was forced to retire due to the cutoff. Now, the beauty about football is just how passionate everyone invested in the sport is. Emotion always runs high and deep. It is the sport that pushes everyone invested in it, from the players to you, the fans, to not holding it back when it comes to expressing the emotions, whether it's happiness, utter disappointment, anger or joy. Now, I want to bring your attention today to AFCON, the African Cup of Nations football tournament. Coaches are being fired, racism charges are being thrown, some getting suspended as well. Angry fans are storming team buses, top political brass visiting, countries and clubs fighting over star players, injury concerns, massive upsets. All is happening the AFCON way of football. Its tradition of drama and surprises continues this time too. So let's get down to it. We are in the knockout stage now, and few countries that we predicted would make it so far have done so, like Morocco, Egypt, the Ivory Coast, Senegal and Cameroon. And there have been a few surprises too, like Ghana not making it, or Nigeria reaching the knockouts for the very first time. The losses have not been taken all too kindly though, by fans or the management. The knee-jerk reactions have been volatile. Despite Ivory Coast making it to the round of 16 by just a whisker, the management sacked their coach Jean-Louis Gasset just a few days ago. This after Ivory Coast suffered a humiliating 4-0 loss at the hands of Equatorial Guinea. Now, they needed Morocco to stamp their authority on Zambia, which they did, making Ivory Coast fans erupt with joy. But fans are rather fickle. Now, don't get me wrong, fans make the sport. They bring in the money, the enthusiasm, the cheers, and well, the jeers or the boos too. But in AFCON, fans are more expressive. Following Ghana's dismal 2-all draw with Mozambique, an angry mob decided to show their displeasure and discontent. They attacked the bus that was carrying the Black Stars as they were leaving the stadium. Furious fans first barricaded the bus, demanding to speak to the coach Chris Hughton and the players. They then proceeded to vandalize the bus. It was in fact attacked even after their first loss in the tournament. Talk about playing under immense fear and pressure. And speaking of the coach, Chris Hughton faced more stern backlash in the boardroom. The Ghana Association sent out a release saying that Chris Hughton has been relieved of his duties as head coach of the senior national team with immediate effect. In fact, the board has also gone on to sack the technical team of the Black Stars along with this. The good part, Ghana, unlike Ivory Coast, waited for the team to be officially eliminated before going ahead and handing out the pink slips. It's not just Ghana who have had massive repercussions and a horrid campaign. Algeria, the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations champions, finished bottom of their group. And the coach, Belmadi, who in fact led them to that memorable campaign back in 2019, decided to part ways. And it was all done rather calmly, much unlike the other teams. Belmadi held discussions with the management, and after their 1-0 loss against Mauritania, Belmadi broke the news to his players in the dressing room that he was in fact stepping down. In fact, the Algerian Federation president said that they reached an amicable decision in all of this bitter campaign, thanked the coach for all that had happened, and decided to part ways. Fans, though, were not having any of it. They were upset and angry. So a group of Algerian fans found out where the team was staying and tried breaking into the hotel. Thankfully, they were stopped by the security personnel, and it didn't come to anything more than that. Some countries are in trouble despite going through to the knockouts, like Morocco. Their talismanic manager Walid Regragui is under fire, but from quarters outside. He was handed a 4-game ban and $5,000 post the match against Democratic Republic of the Congo. 2 matches of his ban have been suspended for the year, but the 48-year-old missed Morocco's last game against Zambia and also is set to miss their crucial knockout game against South Africa. That is unless Morocco Football Federation's appeal against this is successful. In fact, not just him, the disciplinary board at AFCON has fined both the sides $20,000 each. Morocco was fined an additional $10,000 for their fans using smoke bombs during the game. Now, what led to all of this, you'll ask? I'll tell you, the game was a tense affair. A scuffle broke out between the players of both these teams at the end of the game, and there were many incidents that took place during the match too. Reports say there were some racist slurs that were hurled, that Regragui said something racist to the captain of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and there was a lot of bad blood that shouldn't have spilled onto the football pitch. But Regragui denied it all.
In his interview, he never spoke of racism. Never. But that's when society is sick. From the moment he said he had words that I can't repeat, they went away immediately on a different color. So he must have said something racist. And it feels venomous whether it's on the Congolese or Moroccan side. There are people who are bad on both sides. Unfortunately, it's humans. I'm there to calm things down. And it happened nothing more than a scuffle at the end of the match. A frustrated player, a frustrated coach. It's over for me. It's time for football. There's an AFCON, and it's a party, and it's the best AFCON in history.
Well, his enthusiasm towards AFCON, towards the end there, is unfortunately not shared currently by Egypt. They are sorely missing their star player, Mo Salah. He's gone back to Europe to recover from his injury and come back as soon as possible. The move has rattled many in Egypt who have criticized Salah for leaving his side here. But Egypt boss Rui Victoria is trying to keep the peace, saying he understands the need for Salah to recover fast. But he did seem miffed by Liverpool's interference. Liverpool bosses too have spoken, saying Salah will join Egypt as soon as he gets fit and ready to play. Now, all the drama aside, though, AFCON has surely attracted the political top brass. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken made a surprise visit to the tournament and gave a rousing speech too. He said, it's great to be a small part of this year and to honor the incredible work that Ivory Coast is doing. He, in fact, is bringing in all the countries together. He also said this was building bridges between the United States and Africa. Now, the United States and the Ivory Coast. We're doing a lot of actual building of infrastructure, he says, but this is building connections between people, and sport does that as well as anything. Now, clearly there is much to cheer and be happy about as well at AFCON. Cameroon and Gambia were part of what many consider the best football match in the history of the sport. But we won't go into the details of that. Not just yet. Best to catch up some charged up football action that's heading your way. Australian cricket has had its hands full at the moment and dealing with a bit of a crisis. All-rounder Glenn Maxwell has given them plenty of worry lines of late. He was in Adelaide in Australia at a concert where he got drunk and was rushed to a hospital thereafter. A probe was launched which is still on, and all of this is going on during a test series against West Indies. An ODI series is scheduled after that, which is next week, and a T20 series after. Maxwell is not part of the ODI series. He's been rested. He's back at training though, but not everyone is welcoming him with open arms and open mind. The matter is yet to be resolved, details yet to be clarified, but some key men have broken their silence on the subject, particularly Captain Pat Cummins.
Australia is engaged in a battle on two fronts. One, the test series against West Indies that's underway, and second, dealing with the antics of Glenn Maxwell. The latest episode saw him getting drunk partying in Adelaide. He had to be hospitalized thereafter, and it made all the wrong headlines in the days to follow. People now seem to be more excited about this incident than the fixtures or the matches coming up. The captain of the squad, Pat Cummins, has broken his silence on the matter. It's come to light that he was present there too at the concert where Brett Lee, a former Aussie cricketer, and his band were performing. But Cummins says he didn't interact with Maxwell at all, and that he had left way before the incident even occurred. When asked about Maxwell's choices, here's what he said. Potentially, I think only Maxi can answer that one. We're all adults, you have got to make your own decisions. I suppose in this actual incident, he was obviously not on tour with the Australians. He was over there for a private event, he was not with the cricket team. So it is a little bit different. Absolutely, any decision that you make, you have got to own it and be comfortable with it. This was ahead of his second test match against West Indies. Australia has a busy schedule ahead of them, with a test series that's in progress, a 3-match ODI series starting on the 2nd of February, and a 3-match T20 series beginning on the 9th. Newer reports claim that Maxwell had a couple of beers earlier in the day during a golf promo, and indulged some more before going to the concert. It's being reported that Maxwell suffered from dehydration, due to which he lost consciousness. Hours before news of Maxwell's escapade broke out, he was dropped from Australia's ODI squad. Cricket Australia has clarified the timing is purely coincidental and that Maxwell would only be part of the upcoming T20 fixtures. Maxwell's manager too has come out denying that Maxwell is under any scrutiny by Cricket Australia, pointing out that Maxwell diligently returned to Melbourne the day later and resumed training with the squad. Former Aussie cricketers are writing in on this seemingly problematic incident involving a senior member like Maxwell that's brought his troublesome past into focus too. Former Australian Test captain Michael Clarke has expressed concern for Maxwell. He said,
"To have to be put into an ambulance, that makes me nervous. Cricket Australia will get to the bottom of it. The other thing we need to do is making sure he's okay. I can't think of a time where I've had to call an ambulance or an ambulance had to be called for me, no matter how drunk I was."
This high-voltage episode is the latest in Maxwell's diary, which has seen a string of entries that involves him stumbling into one mishap after another. It's almost like collecting incidents for a blooper reel. One thing is for sure, scrutiny or no scrutiny, investigation or no investigation. All eyes will surely be on Glenn Maxwell during the T20 series that's coming up.
Now it's the home stretch of the Australian Open 2024. 4 contenders in the men's categories are looking to bring it home. And we've spoken about one extensively. And there are 3 young guns, all in their 20s, who could prove to be a thorn in the flesh for Novak Djokovic. Jannik Sinner, Daniil Medvedev and the controversial Alexander Zverev. Let's begin with Novak Djokovic's imminent threat, and that's from the Sinner on the court. Just 2 wins away from his first major title. He's on the cusp of something massive. In a tournament that took unexpected twists and turns, he has been invincible so far. Sinner hasn't lost or dropped a single set yet. compared to Novak, who's dropped 3 en route. Sinner's a flawless campaign that looks near perfect. Now, one way to look at it, he's looking very confident heading into the clash against Novak. The other way to look at this is that he hasn't been tested just as yet, and that could be a cause for concern. But he is looking forward to the contest. In fact, he said that, to be honest, he will not be able to control the controllable, which is giving 100%, having the right attitude. That's all he can do, fighting for every ball. And then we see the outcome. Now, he also says that it really doesn't matter who the opponent is. Now, the attitude clearly is in place. Once you head into a match thinking you are up against a 24 slam winner, the battle is almost lost. He's not concerned about who's across the net. And there's a reason for that. When he entered 2023, Sinner had a 9-21 record against top 10 players in the world, meaning he won 9 matches and lost 21 when he was up against them. Last year, he turned it all around, from 21 losses and 9 wins to now just 6 losses and 13 wins, a couple of those coming over Novak himself. Only Djokovic has had a better record than him last year. Now, Sinner will, of course, remember the moment exactly 2 years ago, right here at the Australian Open. Sinner lost the quarterfinals against Stefanos Tsitsipas, and following that heartbreak, Sinner seems to have flipped a switch. He parted ways with his long-standing coach and team. Riccardo Piatti was mentoring him back from the time he was 13. Now, this would have really taken some resolve to come to this decision. Enter head coach Simon Vagnozzi, and soon entered a new and improved Sinner, revamped, rejuvenated and rebranded. Even his opponent Medvedev said that if he had to pick a finalist, he would tremble facing one who hasn't dropped a single set, like Sinner. In fact, he says that if I'm 100% honest with you, if you ask me who do I want to play? Novak, well, he hasn't lost here. And if I had to go with crazy stats, Jannik, who has not lost a set even when he's 5-1 down in the tiebreak. So that's the sort of level and energy that a Sinner brings to the court. Which brings me to the next semi-finalist, world number 3, Daniil Medvedev, who has often drawn the ire of fans during the matches. And again, he loves the hatred that he gets. It doesn't bother him, which builds into the character we are sketching for you. Impulsive, unpredictable and crazy. The perfect 3 words that can possibly describe Medvedev. Now, back in 2021, he pulled off the popular dead fish celebration where he dropped to the ground after he beat Novak Djokovic in a straight set shocker at the US Open. He told the press these are moments he wants to be recognized by more than the achievements themselves.
I don't like for sure to be known for, let's say, some tantrums or things like this, because that's some of the things I regret. I want to be remembered as a guy who did these crazy things on the court. I mean, now social media is everything. So maybe when I'm 50 years old, I could go and still see my videos with some funny things.
Now, he has lost his temper during matches, imploded after making faults and converted break points. Apart from the reckless side, his strength lies in hard courts, and he claims that himself. Hard court in tennis are synthetic courts, like the one at the Rod Laver Arena, and it usually facilitates faster play and more bounce. Now, he's playing more on hard courts, of course, and so does his win percentage. That's more compared to the other surfaces. He knows his way around them. Medvedev's 250th hard court win, in fact, came just last year in September at the US Open. At the Australian Open this year, his semi-finalist the opponent is Alexander Zverev. The two have faced each other 18 times so far. So there is a sense of familiarity. They are hardcore foes. They know each other's tactics, style of play inside out. Medvedev, though, leads the head-to-head 11-7. Now, Zverev's journey to the semi-finals was grueling, and he survived it. Except for his third-round clash, all his matches extended to at least 4 sets. Zverev's quarter-final match saw him overcome the red-hot Carlos Alcaraz. Zverev's record 85% of success rate on his first serves is what got him through. So he knows how to keep momentum up in long matches. But off-court, there seems to be trouble brewing. It hasn't bothered him, at least not just yet, but it could have negative ramifications on him and his career. The strong allegations of domestic abuse from his girlfriend is troublesome, to say the least. No evidence found, though. His misconduct has put him on probation, and he was fined $40,000. Can he shut out all the noise come the semi-finals? Well, either ways, there are 2 tough battles that we are surely going to enjoy watching. And we are at the end of the show and time for Last Serve. And we have a heartwarming story heading your way today. A dog named after NFL star Eli Manning. The retriever is called 10, named after Eli's jersey number, and has found a new home. And his new people finally got a guide dog. Beautiful pictures but that does it here on Firstpost. We hope you enjoyed watching this edition of the show. Stay tuned for lots more coming your way, and of course, watch us again tomorrow and join in at 7 p.m.